Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I am delighted to be joined from Los Angeles to Toronto with fantastic filmmaker Andrew Chung with his excellent film, White Elephant. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at the clip.
This producer's trying to get on my nerves. How do you stand him?
I don't know. We've known each other forever. And he's never like that with me.
And why's that?
Duh. Why do you think?
Andrew, this is, I want to give you a big virtual hug for making this fantastic film, White Elephant. I've got so many questions and I'm so thankful that you brought it to New Filmmakers LA. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
So basically it's about a 16-year-old teenager. She is growing up in a suburb of Toronto, which is majority minority neighborhood. So it's mostly a Black and brown neighborhood. And it's about her coming of age story and her journey towards self-love when she meets this white boy that enters her neighborhood, which is something that's like brand new in her little insulated world in her neighborhood. So she kind of sees this guy and has a huge crush on him, and it reminds her of all the people that she sees on TV. And the film takes place in the 90s, so you can imagine the climate at that time in media. So the images that she was exposed to. So, but it's kind of that experience that she has pursuing this crush that leads to her journey in learning to love herself over the course of the film. But yeah, that's basically what it's about.
Well, I watched it with my partner and we were just sad that it ended. Like, we were like, no, you brought us into this wonderful world. Don't be over. I fell for all these incredible characters and her especially, and, you know, her family. You know, listen, I mean, goodness me, we're only making hairline improvements in entertainment for representation on screen. We still, there's a lot more to do. And the fact this is set in the 90s, you know, we've got to be reminded of even how worse it was during that time as well. And seeing yourself on screen and in characters, and also just kind of how awful it was that, you know, you couldn't see yourself on screen, and it's only just making slight improvements now. What made you, I want to know the inspiration behind this particular story and you creating this, and also, you know, I am curious to why you sort of set it in the 90s, because it worked perfectly.
Yeah, it's based on my personal experiences growing up in the same suburb in Toronto. And yeah, I grew up in the 90s. So it was very easy for me to lift my experiences from that time, because, you know, initially I did set it in the present, and I found it difficult, for one, because I didn't grow up in high school today. And it's a much different climate technologically, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to set it in the 90s because it was just easier as a writer. Mm-hmm. And secondly, I did a draft of the script like early on where it was set in the present. And I just found that there was a lot of misinterpretations with the themes of my film because there was technology involved. So I wanted to strip that away. And you know, it was a much simpler time in terms of like technology and bullying and that sort of thing. So I thought it was like, it just simplified a lot of the things that I wanted to say in the film. But yeah. Sorry, did I miss another question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to follow on from that, I mean, it was actually very refreshing to see these young people without the technology that we have today. You know, because there was actual real hearted conversation, and not to say it doesn't happen today, but it was all we had was, you know, the ability to communicate, you know, in person, or at least not through all the media settings we have today. I'm surprised you look so young. I didn't even know you grew up in the 90s. So I mean, that's just great.
Yeah.
I
turned 40 in 2 days. So
are you kidding me?
Yeah. You know, it's the Asian genes. You know.
Well, happy birthday to you too.
Thank you.
Honestly. But listen, I love. I mean, the fact that you obviously grew up in this neighborhood, you really understood, you know, what it is like during that time as well. I thought the way that the actors and the writing that you put in there was just everything that I hoped that I would see in a film like this, because it really brings attention to how it was, to how it is if we don't make movements and changes, but also just how much more unnecessarily difficult it is for someone who is in a neighborhood where they feel, they feel like they're not being seen. And it was just so great in terms of like your writing of this. Like, I really love that you just went there in conversation. Was that kind of, I know it sounds obviously kind of obvious, but was that something important to you? Because I really feel like you just put out words of unanswered kind of questions that we don't often see in film like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like real things, and there were real things that I was dealing with, growing up, and there were real conversations that I had. Like, I had one of my best friends in high school, like, literally said to me, was trying to set me up with another girl, and she was a white girl, and we didn't have any white girls in our in our school, because it was a very black and brown neighborhood. And then I was like, well, why are you setting me up with this girl in particular? And she's like, well, you love white girls, right? Don't you? And it was just weird to me. I was like, was I projecting that in some way? That like, so we were having these types of conversations actually in real time, in real life. So I thought it felt authentic to me that these conversations would really happen, because especially in high school, right? Like, there's very, like, this cliquish type of behavior, and we love, pitting people into certain groups and categorizing people that way, on top of what we were already seeing in media. So and I think for minority groups, we often talk about our identity, like, very openly, right? Like, we talk about being Asian, you talk about being Black very openly, right? So I thought there were just real life conversations that we actually have that I thought was authentic. So that's why it's in the film.
I'm glad that it was just because, I think I'm glad that it was on camera, as well as, because I think we need to see more movies where, it's regular to have topics of conversations like this. And I feel there's not enough movies like this. So I'm so glad that you made it. And I have to say, like, I absolutely am in love with the characters that you created. Like, I wanted a TV series. Like, I really wanted to extend these characters, and I just love the writing that you gave these actors to bring to life. And I just want to commend you on your cast, because I thought they were all superb. Like, every single one just were like some of the best young talent I've seen in a coming of age film. Tell us a little bit about that process for us.
For sure. I mean, and that's a compliment we received about the cast and the characters. I think, like, what helped a lot is that they had some real life chemistry, like, outside of shooting, right? Like, they actually spent a lot of time with each other, and they hung out quite a bit. And it wasn't even really a long amount of time that we shot this film and did prep for it. So I was just really happy to see that the chemistry was there. But we did do an audition process where we put them in groups, and then we kind of did some chemistry reads. So that really helped. And I feel like that's one of my strengths in terms of, like, reading, like, who works well together, and what kind of chemistry are they kind of conveying on screen, or could potentially convey. So I'm very proud of the fact that it worked out well that way, right? Because I know it's not always the easiest thing to do, right? But we managed to find actors that were just amazing and understood the material, and just really got along. So I was thankful for that. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm still thinking about the film, and I'm mesmerized by every single one of them. They all just had such different things to offer, such great personalities that got brought to life. For you as a director, Andrew, particularly, I'm sure you're like a big brother to them, like, particularly working with a younger cast, and, like, what's your kind of process as a director? Like, was there a lot of, obviously you had rehearsals and things, and you had some chemistry stuff on camera, but, like, when you're trying to, there's some very, very important and intense scenes. Like, how do you work with actors in those particular scenes? What's your kind of process as a director?
Yeah, I think for especially the intense scenes, like, I spend a lot of time in terms of, like, as the writer, actually telling them about my experiences. And I think when they kind of identify that these are coming from real places, like it's, I didn't just make up this scene to try to get the audience to cry or whatever, right? Like I would tell, my own anecdotes from high school and tell them like, these are real things that happened. And I think because they could truly empathize, seeing that it's coming from a real place, that they could take that and really genuinely and sincerely perform it and do it justice, right? So I think because it's coming from an authentic and real place, I feel like the actors were able to genuinely perform it in that way. So I think that's why it kind of shines through. But yeah,
it did. There's so many moments in the film. I'm remembering them all, from everything into the bathroom to just, there's so many scenes. I just can't even get my head around it. But it's just really wonderful to watch. I'm curious, growing up in the 90s, making a film, set in the 90s, obviously you remember what the 90s were like. What sort of things did you have to think about in terms of creating the 90s? Because I certainly felt it, but what was that kind of process like for you?
I mentioned this a lot in other interviews, but it was one of the most fun parts, because it's kind of like revisiting that time in my life, and doing the wardrobe, getting the props, making it feel like that era. Thankfully, I have parents who hoard my stuff, so I had clothes that were literally from that time still in my closet back in my parents' house, and I was just rating my clothes from back then, because they refused to throw it out. So we actually used it so there's actually a ton of my clothes in the show, in the
That's
film.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and same thing with the props, and we kind of just lifted a bunch of stuff from the actual time. So I think that's partly why it feels authentic in that way.
Well, I hope your parents get an IMDb credit for wardrobe then, for keeping all your stuff.
Right? Yeah.
Amazing. Well, again, there's so much context of conversation in this film, and it's always great when you've got a film that you're still thinking about, which I certainly am. I'm just curious though, not that maybe you went in with the set idea, but what did you kind of want your audience to take from your film?
A number of things. I guess if you haven't grown up in a marginalized community, hopefully it opens your eyes up a little bit in terms of those experiences that some of us have, because it's such a specific experience in Toronto. I feel like it's not often a story that we see, so I think it's something new for people that are outside of that. And if you are part of a marginalized community, or even just growing up as a teenager feeling marginalized, right? That some of the experiences in the film resonate as true, and hopefully help you reflect and learn to love yourself at the end of the day, as simple as that is, right? I think it's especially as an adolescent, right? It's very difficult to get to a place where you truly love yourself. So I hope that's what people take away first and foremost.
Yeah, no, I love that. And there's so much context and layers in this film. And, again, it should be for those people that can relate, and those people that can learn and educate and understand and be, understand as they move forward in their lives. I think it's really important, because adolescence is a lot of pressure as it is. Let's try and reduce the amount of, stress levels that young people have as they're growing up, particularly for marginalized communities. So love this film. Now listen, it was a pleasure, because this was actually part of the Canadian In Focus program that we have at New Filmmakers annually. It was great to see so many incredible Canadians, have their films with us, and part of, a greater picture working with Telefilm, etc. What was your experience like, even though it was virtual, to be part of this whole array of talent, from your country, celebrating as a filmmaker at New Filmmakers LA? How was that experience?
I've said this to a lot of your staff, which is that it was a really amazing experience, and I was really, really impressed by your festival, that you guys give so much attention to each of the filmmakers, and you seem like you genuinely care about supporting our work and helping get it out there. And that's what we really need as independent filmmakers. So just having the privilege of being able to screen it to an LA audience as well as a US audience is something that, you know, we you know, 100% appreciate, you know. So
Yeah.
I had an amazing experience.
Oh no, and actually one of the good things about virtual is we got to showcase it internationally because people were buying tickets all over the world. So, you know, that's the one advantage as well. But listen, I'm so excited. I can't tell you, everybody needs to watch White Elephant. I honestly, like, as I said, me and my partner were sad that it ended. We're like, no, we want more. Please don't do that to us. We were in it. So that's the only criticism I can say after it ended. But I want to just add to finish off with and just ask you, what is next for you?
Yeah, I'm just doing a lot of writing right now. So I finished a TV pilot and I'm working on another one. So yeah, thank you. So I'm just doing a lot of writing during this time, and seeing what I can produce up next. So yeah.
Well, you're a great writer. I love the places that you take us with your writing. It's been a privilege to have White Elephant with us, and you know, we hope that you'll get to come with us and meet you in person, you know, again sometime soon. But really, thank you very much to White Elephant. Thank all of your cast and crew, because it was a real treat to have you. So thank you very much, Andrew.
No, thank you so much, Danny.